Before I start, I want to ask a really controversial, divisive, provocative question. And look, especially in recent times, this is a question that has a tendency to divide people. So all I ask is that we all go about discussing our views on this question in a way that is respectful and civil. So my question is, what browser do you guys use? As in, when you buy a new laptop and you're setting it all up, do you just stick with the default Safari or Microsoft Edge, or do you go ahead and install or configure your own browser like Chrome? Hands up if you stick with the default. Okay, hands up if you install your own browser. I want everyone to take a look around the room at the people who have their hands up. These people are special. Now, what makes them special is not some weird hierarchy of browsers, but the underlying habits that browser choice reflects. You see, some people open up their brand new laptop, they see whatever browser is on there, and they don't bother to change it. Why would they? Others say to themselves, well, okay, I know that there's a better alternative out there, so even if it takes more time or more energy, I'm going to take the steps to ensure I implement that alternative. These people are disruptors. Now, I think today the word disruptors or disruption gets thrown around a lot. We think of huge technological or entrepreneurial projects that deal in hyper-innovative ideas and circulate billions of dollars. But disruption really can be as simple as challenging defaults. And challenging defaults really can be as simple as browser choice. By now, I'm sure at least 50% of the audience thinks I have completely lost it. But before you throw tomatoes at me and boo me off the stage, let me bring this one key piece of research to your attention. Economist Michael Hausman studied customer service employees from a range of industries, tech companies, banks, airlines, you name it. And he wanted to find out what distinguished a good employee from a great employee. He wanted to find out what made for diligent, committed employees. So of course, he and his team gather a wealth of data, and on a whim, he decides to do further testing into browser choice. He found that employees who use a non-default browser had higher sales, shorter call times, and happier customers. In summary, they were killing it. The quantity of work it took a default browser employee 3 months to do, a non-default browser employee did that same work in 2 months. You'll notice I keep saying the word default a lot. When traced back to its Latin etymology, the word default actually comes from the Latin word fallire, meaning to deceive. Now, I think that's incredibly fitting. Because if you are somebody who looks at any life, browser choice or otherwise, thinking that it can't be changed, then you really, truly have been deceived. So why? Why is it that people don't bother to explore promising alternatives and just stick with the default? A myriad of reasons. The easiest answer to that question is probably something along the lines of laziness. Oh, they just can't be bothered. The actual answer to that question is far more nuanced. People don't challenge defaults because of perception, particularly perceptions about control. Now, these perceptions place each of us along a spectrum. On one side of the spectrum are people who have what is called an internal locus of control. Now, these are people who accept higher levels of responsibility because they view aspects of their lives and their surroundings as being within their control. On the other end of the spectrum, we have those with an external locus of control, who accept lower levels of responsibility. Now, these are the people who prefer to assign control to some abstract concept like luck, fate, or destiny. That's all well and good. But how do these concepts play out? You've got two students, both 12 years old, and both looking to apply to a hyper-competitive global youth entrepreneurship program. The only problem? There's an age limit. The program only takes students ages 14 and up. Student number 1 has an external locus of control. They see the age limit, decide it just wasn't meant to be, it's not in their control, and they shut their laptop. Student number 2 has an internal locus of control. Instead of taking the age limit for what it is, they write to the CEO of the organization. They introduce themselves, discuss their passion for joining the program, and lo and behold, they get in. Student number 2's perception allowed them to see that elements of the default were indeed in their control to subvert. Now, let me let you in on a little secret. Student number 2, that is a real person. His name is Adam Arrafi. And yes, he really did write to the CEO, and yes, he really did get into the program. Where is he today? Well, today, Adam is the youngest university student in the UAE at only 13 years old. You see, Adam's perception allowed that this default educational path that was laid out before him was indeed able to be altered and subverted. Now, this alteration, this disruption of defaults is all well and good, but to what end? I want to tell you guys a little story. In April of this year, myself and a few other students sat on a student selection panel for our new head of secondary. In total, we interviewed about 8 different candidates. 7 out of 8 were perfectly normal, perfectly lovely, perfectly qualified, but completely default. They all spoke in the same way, about the same things, and when we asked them what they liked about our school and what they wanted to change, they all answered with buzzwords strategically plucked from our school's website. They said a lot about collaboration without really saying much at all. They were the Microsoft Edge of head teachers. Candidate number 8 didn't use as many buzzwords, thank God. But one thing that we do remember him talking about was how he once played catch with a student using an imaginary ball. Now, let me tell you, after 2 hours of teachers talking about soft skills and preparing students for the 21st century, this was like a shock to the system. After our interview with him, the entire student panel left reassured and inspired. Reassured that the greatest change is often made in ways that are unconventional, and inspired to go ahead and take steps towards making that change. Today, we have unearthed a vital question about browser choice. But more importantly, we have confronted what it takes to be a disruptor, to disrupt the default. Defaults are not destiny. They are a starting point and not a finish line. Thank you.